Hi everybody, today we're going through 6 different oil painting techniques. Learning these techniques can allow you to be like a more well-rounded painter and just overall more informed even if you don't actually use them in the future. Okay, so here are all the materials you're going to need for this demo. You're going to need linseed oil, Gamsol, walnut alkyd, and Liquin, palette knives, razor scraper, rags, and brushes, a cleaning jar and a medium jar, and any oil paint you want to use for this demo. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area because solvents and oil paints can be toxic, and always make sure to wear gloves. Okay, so we're going to start our first technique, chiaroscuro, which is an Italian artistic term used to describe dramatic lighting in a painting. The word derives from literally the Italian words for light and dark. So we're mixing up a gradient of colors to make that painting now. We're using our Gamsol and linseed oil medium, and we are slowly incorporating light and dark into the middle tones so that we can make a lightest gray, a medium gray, and a dark gray. Okay, so here is me making the painting. Um, you're going to want to start with your lighter colors and your lighter grays and slowly build up to adding your darker grays and blacks into the composition. Just once again, slowly building form through value until the form you want is fully rendered. Keep in mind where your light source is coming. So in this painting, I decided that my light source was coming from the top right corner of the picture plane. So just making sure your values fall into line with where your imaginary light source is coming from. Okay, so the next technique is glazing. Um, we're going to be using linseed oil, walnut alkyd, and Liquin to try out different mediums when glazing. A glaze is a thin, transparent, or semi-transparent layer on a painting which modifies the appearance of the paint under it, either through value, texture, surface, and color. Glazes consist of a lot of binding medium and a small amount of pigment. Glazing takes a really long time with careful layering in order to build up form and color and value. So with the ultramarine blue, we have the linseed oil mix, and here I have pre-prepared gradients so that we could just try out how each glaze does on the different values and the different hues under it. And here we have this beautiful red color in the walnut alkyd. This is my favorite glazing medium. It leaves a really shiny and beautiful and rich finish. And lastly, we have the Prussian blue Liquin glazing medium. I like this medium, but it can be a little bit goopy, so be aware of that. It gets into all the crevices, which can be a positive thing and a negative thing. So here I'm going to be trying out the glazes we already learned how to do on a pre-prepared surface of these kind of weird egg paintings. Each painting has different textures on it, so we can try out how the glazes do on different textured surfaces under them. So yeah, you can see the different pooling and the different how the different values interact with the glazes. And eventually, when this first layer of glaze dries, you can layer on another color to create colors through these transparent layers. So if you took one of the blues and you layered yellow on top, you would get green. So the next technique is Alla Prima, which is when you basically paint wet on wet. So you don't let any of the layers dry. It's kind of a spontaneous way of painting. A lot of unusual and unexpected marks come out of it. A lot of painters who paint this way paint a painting in like one day or one sitting. And Alla Prima means in Italian at first attempt. Okay, so the next technique is impasto painting, which is where you lay the paint on super thick, so thick that the brush or like painting knife strokes are usually visible. A lot of like on the canvas color mixing happens. And a really good and famous example would be Vincent van Gogh. So in this example, I'm using a brush, and in the next example, I'll show you how to use a palette knife to do impasto. Okay, so now I'm going to be showing you how to do impasto with a palette knife. So I have a bunch of different sizes of palette knives, and depending on the size, it makes a different and unique type of mark. You can use the very tip of the palette knife to scratch into the canvas. You can use the sides to make super wide marks. You can use a bunch of little and thick marks to build up form that kind of conform with whatever you're making. So direction of mark is really important if you want to build up form using palette knife marks. And yeah, just have fun. Painting with a palette knife is one of my favorite things to do because it's just very freeing and very expressive and very physical. So the last technique we're going to explore is something I call scrape reveal. So before this video, I laid down a red base with kind of like a white swirly through it. And now I'm laying down a kind of dark phthalo green. I'm taking out my razor scraper and I'm just scraping away to reveal a very unique pattern. The paint on top kind of stains the paint at the bottom. And they pool and make weird colors in certain areas. And if you scratch harder, you'll get more of the red. And if you don't, you'll leave more of the green. And it's just really interesting way to create pattern